Hello Bookish friends, welcome to my January wrap-up part 2. In this video, I will talk about 6 books that I finished in the second half of January, and like I did in the previous wrap-ups, I will insert the clips that I recorded very soon after I finish those works. Today is the 17th of January, and I finished the book that I was reading for Pineiro project yesterday. Elena Knows by Claudia Pineiro. This book was originally not on my January TBR, although it was one of the books that I've added to my TBR for the year 2025. When I saw that Chad had formed a Boxer group in which they read all the works of Claudia Pineiro. Also, the book for January was Elena Knows. I thought that it was a sign that I should join this group. I contacted Pat and became the part of the group. In this book, we follow Elena, who's in her early 60s and has a very advanced Parkinson's disease. Even the doctors call her case Parkinson plus. The events in this book takes place in just one day. Elena wakes up to visit Isabella, who's a friend of her deceased daughter. And she wants Isabella to discover the truth behind Ritsa's death, which is accepted by all the authorities as a suicide. But Elena thinks that there is more to her death because she has acted quite strangely regarding the situation that she was found dead. Unable to convince the authorities, she decides to uncover the mystery, but she needs a healthy body. That's why she goes to the place that Isabella lives and asks for her help. Because of her condition, her trip to Isabella's house becomes an adventure by itself. Also, of course, we discover more about these 3 women through flashbacks. I will start with my rating, which is 10 out of 10. This became my first 10 out of 10 book after more than a year. I'm so glad that I could find a book that would impress me so much in terms of writing style, complex characters, the theme of the book, and of course in terms of the way that it makes me feel and think about things much more. Pinero's writing was raw. It depicted the conditions of Parkinson's very realistically. I could fully understand the hardships that Elena went through to just get out of the bed, walk, even raise her head to look at a mirror, which was an incredible experience for me, considering that fortunately I do not have any physical constraints that affects my life. Themes that were brought in this book made me think about many things that woman goes through, which includes mother-daughter relationship, conditions of people with chronic diseases, hardships and the psychology of their caretakers, abusive and also toxic relationships, as well as women's decisions on their biology and their body. She packed all of these issues in a quite thin book without overwhelming the reader with bombardment of social messages. She made it so subtle and integrated all of them into the story of this elderly woman, her daughter and her friend, really professionally. Moreover, being a mystery lover, I was fully invested in the mystery of what really happened to Rita and why she died. So it was a very good reading experience for me. But what really made this book phenomenal was the discussion group that I joined. There were so many very good points made about the book. I became aware of some details that I did not think or not know through this wonderful group with so many considered and insightful people. And there was a trust and connection between us, which made us share some of our personal experiences. This, of course, enriched my enjoyment level even much more. So it was a very, very wise decision that I thought it was a sign that I should join this group. I will continue to be part of this group. I cannot wait to read more books from this author. Like I said in the beginning of my review, I gave Elena Knows by Claudia Pineiro a 10 out of 10. Today is the 18th of January, and I finished the book that I was buddy reading with Roald Skeledangling about the books, which was the third book in Women of Troy series, The Voyage Home by Pat Barker. We buddy read the second book together, and when the third book came out and I couldn't find the book, I was gifted this book by Rose, which is a very, very special gift for me. And of course, buddy reading the book also became a very, very special experience, like all of my buddy reads with her. This book is told from the perspective of three women. Ritsa, a middle-aged Trojan woman, the former healer, who becomes the maid of Cassandra. The second person we are following is Cassandra. She was a former virgin priestess of Apollo, and after being raped in the monastery, she is cursed by Apollo to make prophecies truthfully, but nobody believes her. And her latest prediction is that she has to be with Agamemnon because she will die along with Agamemnon when they return to Greece. Thirdly, we follow Clytemnestra, the wife of Agamemnon, who rules Agamemnon's country in Greece during his absence. But she cannot forget that Agamemnon sacrificed her oldest daughter to the gods in order to make the winds change and sail to Troy to conquer the country. We follow these three women during the course of their journey to Greece, the voyage home, and in the first few days after Agamemnon and his army returned to Greece. I loved the way that Pat Barker wrote this mythological story. I very seldomly recognize good quotes in books, but in this book I wrote down many quotes that I liked very, very much. The very, very dramatic and tragic plot of this tragedy was through the eyes of a woman is a novelty, but especially in this book, creating very, very complex and conflicting characters whom we sometimes hate and sometimes we identify, was a very, very brilliant writing ability for Parker. I especially loved the sections through the eyes of Ritsa, a very realistic human being with human needs, observing this very, very tragic event, the power plays within the palace, especially between Cassandra and the queen. Also male characters with very, very big egos. Although the magical realism of mythology was toned down, especially in this book, the spookiness of the environment was felt all throughout the book, and additionally exchanging ideas with Rose as well as our thoughts about the book and how much we liked the writing style of Barker. It elevated my reading experience of this book. I want to thank Rose both for gifting this book and also buddy reading this very, very beautifully written book with me. Overall, I very, very much enjoyed this reading experience, and I gave The Voyage Home by Pat Barker a 9 out of 10. Today is the 20th of January, and I finished the book that I was buddy reading with Loretta, which is the fourth book in Dexter series, Dexter in Design. In this book, Dexter is a married man, and he encounters a quite violent exhibit in Paris. When he comes back from his honeymoon, he sees that similar type of violent art is applied in his home city, Miami. While investigating these events, Dexter's sister, Deborah, is mutilated with a knife. Dexter, for the first time, decides to act emotionally to get revenge for Deborah, but stepping out of his defined comfort zone really takes Dexter down into a spiral. He feels like he's losing the control of his life. When I talked about the plot of the book, would not expect that I laughed out loud in some parts of this book. I really enjoyed the humor of this book, especially the parts in which Dexter interacted with almost every character. As we get into the series more and more, we learn more about other characters as well as Dexter, of course. And Dexter comments about those people do make it much more funnier. The mystery, however, was a bit weaker than the first two books, but it had a still exciting conclusion. So overall, it was a good reading experience again, and I gave Dexter in Design by Jeff Lindsay an 8 out of 10. Today is the 23rd of January, and I finished two books back to back. The first book that I finished was the book that I was reading for my yearly reading challenge, Go With The Flow. The book that we choose would have my favorite color on the cover. This book has three of my favorite colors, although in varying degrees, which are pink, red, and purple. Matilda by Roald Dahl. In this book, we follow Matilda from 4 years old until she is 7. She's quite a child genius, is also very kind, unlike her very ignorant and greedy family. And Matilda at first tries to fit in with her family, but when she cannot do that, she gets more and more away from them, and she plays little tricks on her family to punish them. In the second part of the book, we follow Matilda when she is at school, and she clearly connects with a young teacher, but the headmistress of the school is quite horrifying, and she thinks Matilda is a very naughty girl. I read some books from Roald Dahl before, and to be honest, I did not like them very much. The humor was certainly not for me. But many of my friends thought that this book was different, and I would like this book very much. In the end, I liked the book much better than the other ones. But to be honest, I did not love it as much as my other dear friends did. But I really enjoyed especially the second part, in which Matilda connected with her teacher, Miss Honey. I also liked the way that the headmistress was written. She was so over the top. I actually laughed at a Roald Dahl book for the first time in those scenes. This was a good read for me, and I gave Matilda by Roald Dahl an 8 out of 10. The second book that I finished today was a book that I was reading for the Turkish Shelf video series, which was Genç, Romanı by Perihan, Mağden. This book was translated to English as Two Girls. This book we follow Meave, who's quite clever and has a notable academic success because she's antisocial, cannot get along with her very traditional family. Most important of all, she is attracted to girls, which is very frowned upon, especially at that time in Turkey. When she meets Handan, a very beautiful and a quite naive girl, she falls hard for Handan. Her life suddenly brightens with Handan's presence. She moves in with Handan and her mother, who earns her living as a mistress of married men. Meave lives the time of her life for a couple of days. But when Handan looks for more than Meave's friendship, Meave's whole world goes downfall until the end of the book, only focusing on Handan's attitudes towards her. This book was very popular at the time that it was written because it was one of the first books that featured a lesbian character. Because I frowned upon young adult novels at that time, I did not read the book. I quite liked her different take on subjects. This book had actually the most traditional plot structure of her books that I've read. However, the way that she wrote the book was very, very raw. Could clearly picture Behier's desperation for acceptance, love, and sometimes even praise. While I was reading the book, I thought of the English phrase, which we do not use actually. This book was like watching a train wreck. I could not stop reading, even though I was horrified at all the things that I knew was going to come. I will talk more in detail about the Turkish Chef video, which will be online most probably next month. Overall, I gave Genç Kızın Romanı by Perihan Mağden a 7 out of 10. Today is the 30th of January and I finished the book that I was reading for a week, which was originally not on my January TBR, but I have tried a chapter of this book in one of the videos that I did last year. A book from an old favorite author of mine, Minding Frankie by Meave Binchy. In this book, we are following a community of people in a suburb of Dublin, Ireland. At the beginning of the book, Neil is a young man living with his family. He is also an alcoholic addict. One day he finds out that one of his ex-girlfriend is terminally ill, but also pregnant with his child. Noel, along with his parents, his neighbors, his best friend, his roommate, his cousin, and many of the other people in the extended community do decide to raise Frankie, his daughter, all together, and they come up with a plan to mind Frankie while Noel tries to get over his addiction, as well as finishing the college degree to have a better job and to better look after his daughter. But there is a very strict coded community worker, Maura, but firmly believes that this type of arrangement would not work since very unconventional. So it is up to them to convince Maura that Noel and his support group could really take care of Frankie in a loving environment. After I finished the book, I thought, why haven't I read a Meave Binchy book for so long? Because her books are very, very cozy and full of characters who are very, very realistic and also a part of a wonderful community. Especially in this book, the bond between the community about minding Frankie extends and becomes much, much more than just Frankie. They are sort of like a very, very big extended family. I loved each of the characters and wish the best for them, even the ones who disagree, like Maura. The writing was very, very approachable, like all of her books. It could have been 100 pages shorter, especially towards the end. I could not wait to finish the book and know what would happen to such endearing characters. So overall, it was a very good book for me, and I gave Minding Frankie by Meave Binchy an 8 out of 10. So those were the 6 books that I finished in the second half of January. Please comment down below. Have you read any of the books that I mentioned in this video, and what did you think of them? If you're a new viewer, first of all, welcome. Please like and subscribe. Hope to see you very soon. Bye. As for Turkish word of the day, I'm going to choose know. Know means bilmek in Turkish, and bilmek is our Turkish word of the day. Have a good day.